Okay. All right. I'm going to get started. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Virginia, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. Before we get started, I'm just going to go do a quick housekeeping. So, Rob, if you want to switch the slide. I think all of you guys are pros at this point, so I'm going to go really quick through this. You've got your camera views on the bottom left. You can adjust at any point. You've got your gestures in the top left. If you want to release emojis, that's in the middle top of your screen, if you're liking what you're hearing. And you can place any, I see some emojis flying, thank you. And if you want to ask us any questions, you can put it in the chat in the bottom left. And if you need to see anything bigger, if it's just not like looking that clear to you, just hit that eyeball icon at the top of the screen and it'll pop out and you can make it bigger. All right, so that's my housekeeping. And now I'm gonna introduce our speaker today, Rob Spierenberg. So Rob, I actually have the pleasure of working with a lot. We work together on the McGraw-Hill AR, our augmented reality app. And so Rob is the Chief Executive Officer of All Things Media, a multimedia development firm with a 22-year history of delivering compelling digital experiences. He has led a multifaceted team in developing next-gen interactive experiences, including augmented reality and virtual reality for a wide range of clients, including Cadillac, Pepsi, BASF, BMW, and McGraw-Hill. Thank you everyone for coming today, and please welcome Rob to the stage. Hey, Rob.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Really excited to be here today to talk a little bit about augmented reality. And as Virginia said, my team and I have been doing this for a really long time. And I don't think that it's an exaggeration to say that the work that we've done on McGraw-Hill AR is some of the most compelling work that we've ever done, specifically in the education space. And we're really excited to kind of show you some of the thoughts that go behind, that are behind the curtain, that go behind everything that we've created, and to kind of give you a little bit of a run through of McGraw-Hill AR today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So let me go ahead and jump in here. So before we get started, if anybody hasn't had a chance yet to download McGraw-Hill AR, on the screen you'll see a QR code where you can download the application. Just scan it on your phone or a mobile device and you can pull the application down. Everything is totally free, and there's a lot of great content there. So go ahead and take a moment if you want. You can also access it online at mheducationar.com. So the vision for McGraw-Hill AR really began with partnership. Verizon and McGraw-Hill collaborated on a vision to bring augmented reality technology to the classroom as part of the Verizon Innovative Learning Initiative. And that partnership really set the tone for the application from the very beginning. From the start, we were working as a team with a focus on digital inclusion, which is really what the Verizon Innovative Learning Initiative is all about. Bringing high-end experiences to every type of classroom in every district completely free. And so this focus has really led us to look at the concepts that traditionally are taught using manipulatives or in-classroom aids that might not be available in every district due to resource constraints. It just so happens that that's also kind of a sweet spot for augmented reality itself. So as with all good development, McGraw-Hill AR began with a good deal of research and planning. So with the partnership in place and the core objective defined, McGraw-Hill did what all good educators, developers, and students do. They did the homework. So McGraw-Hill commissioned a survey by Hanover Research of teachers, administrators, and parents to learn more about the usage and benefits and concerns around augmented reality in schools and at home. So we're going to dig in a little bit to some of the findings from that research or that survey before we get too much into the actual application. So what did they find in the survey? Well, when it comes to familiarity and usage, only 29% of educators are familiar with the use of augmented reality in education. But of those that have implemented AR solutions in their classroom, 74% said that they use it at least once a week. So it appears, at least so far, that awareness, not efficacy, is the issue at play here. This leads us to believe, or led us to believe, and still leads us to believe, that as educators become aware and implement augmented reality in their teaching, this new learning style will become a prevalent part of the student experience. For those who were familiar with augmented reality, 78% of educators and 59% of parents cited engagement as the #1 benefit. Now, as we know, one of the main goals of any educator is to see the student engaged, and students that are engaged tend to take more away from learning experiences. So to see this perception among both educators and parents is another clear indication that augmented reality is well positioned to be a key learning technology moving forward. People always want engagement, and engagement is really a hallmark of good teaching and good education. So any tool that brings greater engagement and really pulls students into the topic is a tool that we feel educators are going to ultimately seek out. So, those that use it often, and those that know of it see it as an engaging solution. So why isn't augmented reality already everywhere in the classroom? Based off of the survey, there are 3 main concerns. The first is cost. It's the #1 as it's specifically related to hardware, the cost of implementing hardware solutions in the classroom. The second is maintenance. And the third is difficulty of use. But augmented reality experiences don't require any new hardware. Augmented reality experiences can be viewed on devices that the schools already use, to include tablets, Chromebooks, and not to mention the phones that students already have in their pockets. This leads us to believe that there's confusion in the marketplace, differentiating augmented reality from virtual reality. Whereas virtual reality requires specific hardware, augmented reality hardware is already in place, and so it shouldn't really serve as an obstacle. So as we move to create AR experiences, it would have seemed that awareness and understanding are really the greatest hurdles that we have to contend with in seeing this technology really come into the mainstream. Based off of the research, we established 3 main areas to focus on in the development of McGraw-Hill AR. First of all, since student engagement is such a perceived strength, we resolved to lean into that aspect of the experience. We did this by tying in real-world objects to give the content relevance, embracing the multisensory nature of AR, and allowing students to control the pace and sequence of the learning. All of this ultimately leads to deeper learning. One of the key concerns was difficulty of use. And so we focused on the beginning on ease of use. We made McGraw-Hill AR a seamless experience, from standard aligned lesson plans for each activity to consistent, approachable, to a consistent and approachable format, to a minimalist UI and UX approach that allows students to reset the experience at any time and try again. Experiences last only 3 to 5 minutes and are focused on a single learning objective. This allows us to focus on the experiential nature of AR and really drive the learning home in an effective and visceral way. And number 3, we also made McGraw-Hill AR flexible in multiple ways. Each activity includes a standard aligned lesson plan, allowing activities to stand on their own or to be used in conjunction with any core curriculum. In addition, to overcome concerns about hardware, McGraw-Hill AR has been designed to be platform agnostic, meaning that it will work on Apple and Android devices and starting this fall on Chromebooks as well. So wherever the student is, that's where we want to be. And on whatever device they're currently using, we want McGraw-Hill AR to be available. So moving on, I've talked a whole bunch about why and how we built McGraw-Hill AR. Now we'd like to give you a demo of one of the activities. But before we do, if you haven't had a chance yet to download McGraw-Hill AR, here's another opportunity. Just scan the QR code or go to mheducationar.com and you can pull down the activity on your iOS or Android mobile device. So we're just going to go into a quick walkthrough here of one of the activities. Righty. So this activity is rotations, and rotations is specifically about showing how two-dimensional objects, when rotated, create three-dimensional objects. So here, you'll see we set the anchor, and now we go into the observe animation.
The axis is along one side of the rectangle. If we rotate the rectangle about the axis, a solid revolution is formed. This solid revolution is a cylinder.
So you'll see that augmented reality has a unique relevance for this specific content. As we rotate two-dimensional objects around an axis and they form three-dimensional objects, you can't truly appreciate the three-dimensional nature of that object unless you have the ability to rotate around it and look at it from different angles. So here, just simply by moving my phone, we can do that. Now here's we get into an activity. Now we're into what we call the explore section. So the first section was observe, where we just explained the concept. When we get into explore, we now give the student agency. So the student has the ability to drag the axis and decide how they want that axis positioned before they initiate a rotation. And they can drag it to anywhere that they like and create any shape that they like. So here, you create this interesting shape using the triangle. And then simply by changing the axis angle and moving it to another spot, we can do another rotation. Now here we bring in real world objects. So as we rotate it, one of the payoffs, or one of the little things that the students are looking for, is rotating these things to create objects. So as they rotate and execute specific rotations, they'll get real world objects that are created as part of that rotation. And that implementation of the real world is something that we did intentionally across multiple activities, because it's more than just asking the student to answer a question on a test. What we want is for the student to be able to go out after this into the real world and see these concepts at play in the world around them. So the next time a student looks at a tire, for example, they can, in their mind, say, well, if I were to cut that tire this way and pull out a cross-section of it, or if I took this shape and rotated it, that's how I would create that three-dimensional object. And that basic understanding is a fundamental underpinning of mathematics, of physics, of any number of different disciplines that we're asking the students to engage with in the real world. So once the student has completed the activity, and they can take as long as they like, they can create as many shapes as they like, and engage with this subject matter at their own pace. Once they're done and they decide that they're ready to proceed, then we have a quick 5-question evaluation. These questions are pulled from a bank of between 10 and 15 questions randomly, and they align directly to the types of questions the students will see on the test. So while we are giving them that real world experience and allowing them to kind of engage with the content at their own pace, at the end, we bring it back to the knowledge that they need to succeed in the classroom. So as you'll see, we'll go through this, and having taken this activity multiple times, I am a rotations master, as you'll see. I'm able to kind of very quickly answer these questions, although I think I intentionally got this one wrong. But you'll see that you get feedback, correct or incorrect. You get feedback that explains why it's correct or why it's incorrect, and gives you insight into what the correct answer would be. And again, these are all pulled directly from the types of things they'd see on the test. At the end, you're given a score, and the application will save the student's highest score. So whatever their most recent and highest score is, whatever their highest score is, that's the score that gets saved. It's saved locally on the device for the student's own reference. And students can take the activities as many times as they like to improve their skill and better understand the concept. So moving on, at this point, I just showed you one activity. There are currently 10 mathematics activities in mcgraw-hill AR, and there's a number of additional ones coming later this year. which I'll talk about in a minute. But first, I'd like to show you a highlight reel of some of the different activities that currently exist. So here we have cross sections. This is just us showing how intersecting a plane in a three-dimensional object performs creates a cross section, and very clearly illustrating what those cross sections are. You've seen rotations, so I won't talk about that anymore. Although you haven't seen Jello, which is pretty exciting. In nets, we take real-world objects and break them out to show how nets are formed in a three-dimensional object. In slope, we allow the student to control the height of a skateboard ramp and try and hit targets in order to have their little mini skateboarder, have a successful jump. In solve equations, we convey the concept of balancing equations and how it's all about equality, and what you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other, using the scale analogy. In growth functions, we give the student the ability to experiment with different types of growth. Here you'll see exponential, and it gives you an idea, the rabbits jump out of the hat, and based off of your settings, you'll either see, a smaller number of bunnies or a lot of bunnies come out. We just happen to select the greatest amount of bunnies possible for this one. In parallel and skew lines, you'll look at a three-dimensional object, and then you can select multiple lines on that and discover whether or not they're parallel, skew, perpendicular. In reflections, we allow the user to control the axes of reflections on a grid. And then when they reflect the object, we give them a little payoff where we kind of relate that to something you might see in the real world. In Pythagorean theorem 3D, we allow the student to use a combination of lines to calculate or define lines within a three-dimensional object to find length. And in graph theory, we use this paradigm to allow students to solve graph theory puzzles and to determine which ones are possible to solve and which ones aren't. So again, this is just some of the initial ways in which we're using, augmented reality to help students grasp complicated mathematical concepts, specifically those that require mental mapping and the ability to kind of create these three-dimensional constructs in their minds. So at this point, I've shown you the application. So we built the application, and as of last September, a full 10 mathematics activities were made available to teachers all over the world for free. So how did the market respond? The response has been overwhelmingly positive. From the tens of thousands of downloads to glowing reviews from bloggers, educators, and the people that we meet at trade shows, people can't seem to get enough of the application. We've also won three awards so far. Tech and Learning Best of 2022 for secondary education, grades 6 through 12. We won Platinum 2022 for the Journal New Product Award, and the 2023 District Administration Top EdTech Product Award for Future Learning Technology. And these are just the ones that have already been awarded since we launched. We fully anticipate a number of additional ones. So again, if you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely should. So we've talked about how we got here. We've shown you what we've created. We've shown you the response. So let's talk about where McGraw-Hill AR is going next. We have a bunch of new features that we're looking to implement in 2023. All really exciting, but we'll just give you a quick glimpse. So one of the future ways in which we're going to expand the platform is to allow for multi-user collaboration, meaning that multiple students will be able to link their phones and engage in an augmented reality collaborative exercise together. It'll allow for up to 4 users at a time. Users can engage in a single user experience. They could have 2 live users. You could have 4 users working together, and they can stare at a table and have a shared space where they all see the same thing. And when one user makes a change, the other users all see it in real time. This experience is also going to be cross-device compatible, meaning that the experience, one user can be on an Android device, another user can be on an iOS device, and then ultimately another could be on a Chromebook. And all of them will have see the same experience and be able to engage together in these collaborative experiences. It's also important to note that in order to engage in an experience like this, the students, if they're together, can see the same thing, but it also works with students that are from, engaging from home. So if a student is home and a student's in the classroom, those two students can jump into a group activity together and engage in the same activity and see each other's actions within the same multi-user space. Another way in which we're increasing the platform is by expanding the amount of content. So there's a lot more activities coming in the new year. We've got a number of 6 new science activities that are going to launch soon. We've got a number of new social studies and English language arts activities that are coming out. And we'll talk about one of those here in a minute. We also have a bunch of new math activities. Of those activities, we're going to have 2 multi-user mathematics activities, 1 multi-user social studies activity. And then we're also expanding the interface with search, filtering, and categorization. Because right now there's only 10 activities in it, but by the end of the year, we're going to be getting closer to 30. So as the library grows, we're going to give students the ability to find what they want to interact with quickly and efficiently. And then finally, the future of this content is also cross-platform. So we're deploying web versions in the coming months. We're going to be having Spanish language versions of the initial 10 mathematics activities that are in there right now. Those will be available multi-language, and they'll all be contained in the same application. All the user will have to do is say, I want to see these in Spanish, and they'll get a Spanish language experience. As AR headsets and other technologies come to the forefront, we're keeping the code base portable so that these types of experiences can be experienced on those devices as well. And if you've gone to the Viking room in this during this conference, that we're also taking some of this content and making it available in the metaverse. So the Vikings experience here is the same content that will be available in the McGraw-Hill AR app in the coming month or so. So we're doing a lot in terms of cross compatibility, and ultimately the goal here is not so much about creating a cool experience on all these cool platforms. The goal here is to take great learning experiences and make them available to the student wherever the student is. Some students may be more comfortable with an augmented reality experience. Some students may be more comfortable with a metaverse-based experience. And some students may want to just watch a video of the content. Wherever that student is, these experiences should be made available to them in whatever way they deem most appropriate and most comfortable. So I've done a lot of talking, and at this point, we'd love to open it up to any questions that you might have regarding these experiences.
Nothing. Oh, hold on.
If anybody has a question, feel free to drop it into the chat.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions right now. But one thing I was thinking, Rob, is we can let people know if anyone here is gonna be at ISTE, we're gonna be displaying some of these new technologies at ISTE in June.
Yeah, that's correct. At ISTE, we'll have multi-user experience to demo, along with a number of science activities, additional math activities, and social studies activities. And some of the activities that are coming up are really exciting. We're doing one on the Boston Massacre, which, as you can imagine, an augmented reality version of that might be really interesting and engaging. And the initial group activities that we were looking at are really promising as well. But yeah, I guess if there's no questions, we can potentially end early. I'll stick around for a while if anybody has anything that they'd like to ask. I'll be here for a minute. Okay. We do have something here. When you talk about the metaverse versus augmented reality, where would students access the metaverse? So the metaverse is a very interesting term in that it really, it's used to define a lot of things. Augmented reality is seen as a metaverse technology. And when we talk about multi-user augmented reality, these group activities, that is very much a metaverse type of experience. But if you're talking about experiences like the one you're in right now, this kind of multi-user virtual world, right now, students could engage with content like this in platforms like Breakroom. There's also a lot of solutions and things like Minecraft and other solutions like that. The bike room that's currently available in this conference is an early experiment or prototype that McGraw-Hill is looking at a potential solution for a metaverse-based learning experience. However, McGraw-Hill does not have a true metaverse-based learning experience out just yet. This is kind of our first foray into the space, if that answers the question. And feel free to ask another one if I didn't cover it. All right, well, I don't know if there's any other questions. Doesn't seem that there are. So
Yeah, I'm not seeing any other questions right now. But like Rob said, we'll hang out here for a few minutes if people want to hang out and just stand up and ask us some questions using voice chat or something like that, or feel free to put it in the chat here. Oh, I think someone there is another question here, Rob. How do you think more teachers and districts could adapt this technology?
How do we think more teachers and districts could adapt this tech or adopt this tech?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yep.
Well, right now, by downloading McGraw-Hill AR, in a mathematics classroom, again, it's available right now for free for any teacher that wants to use it. There's free lesson plans available for any one of the 10 activities that are currently in McGraw-Hill AR. And if that classroom has access to mobile devices, or if the students are allowed to use their mobile devices, they could certainly allow the students to download it for free and engage with it, or give it as something that they could download at home if they're having trouble with one of these concepts. In the future, right now, these are supplements to existing curricula. In the future, I would imagine as the library grows, these links to these activities may be included in some of the curriculum, where clicking on that link from a mobile device or from a web browser will bring you directly into an augmented reality experience. And that in that way, it just becomes another weapon in your arsenal of learning. In the same way that you would tell a student to watch this video, or tell a student to engage with to use IXL. You could tell a student to take an augmented reality activity overnight or in the classroom and kind of deepen their understanding of a specific or challenging concept. But in the future, I think it'll become more mainstream in the curricula as teachers become more comfortable with the content, and as the content becomes more ubiquitous and available across multiple platforms. One of the big things that's coming this year is the deployment of these same activities to Chromebooks. When that happens, pretty much every classroom that supplies devices to their students will either have a mobile device like an iPad or a Android tablet or a Chromebook. One of those three devices will typically exist in any district that's giving out devices. In any district that doesn't, the students can use their own devices if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to actually say that, Rob, because the follow-up question to one of them was, what do they need to adopt it? And a lot of people don't realize they might have the devices already in their district, because a lot of people have tablets in their district, or certainly the students have smartphones. I know they can't always use them in school, though. They could use it at home, because this could be, you could assign, like in the AR app, you could assign this work as homework too, if your students all have access to certain devices at home that they can't maybe use in the classroom.
Or if the student, or if you do a section on in math class on cross sections, and the student is really struggling with it, or comes in for extra help or says, I don't fully understand it, this is kind of an easy way to say, listen, why don't you download this app and take this activity, because I think it does a really good job of explaining it. So right now it's being used as a supplement, but I do think that as teachers become more comfortable with it, And as this new learner type starts to emerge, which is kind of the metaverse or augmented reality learner type, I think we're going to see this becoming more of a part of the mainstream curriculum and more of just another resource or tool that's available in these digital curriculum.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can't recall if you touched on this, Rob, but I think one of the cool things about it is that the student, kind of building on to what we just said about even students doing it at home for extra practice, they can reset these activities over and over and over again. So if they are struggling with it, there's no limit on how many times they can do it or anything. They can reset it, redo it as many times as they want until they feel like they mastered it, which I think is really big because it is, if you're struggling with a concept, you're not going to just necessarily get it right away. So you can practice it over and over again, change the settings, but give them a lot of agency with the app where they can actually just, change and alter the settings to make it go in a different direction, different cross section, whatever it is. So they get to redo it over and over and over again.
All right.
Okay. I don't see any more questions. So yeah. Well, we're giving everyone about 25 minutes back in their day. I'm sure after a long day, people appreciate that. One thing I will say, hey, Rob, do you have the dance reception slide in here by any chance?
I do. Coming right up. There you go.
Yay. So one thing I just wanted to point out to everyone, if you're still with us and you're still hanging out at 4 o'clock in the dance region, you can find it, as you probably know by now, from Explore. It starts at 4 o'clock. There is going to be a dance reception. There will be like a DJ playing music from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Your avatars can dance, so you don't have to feel any pressure or embarrassment. It's not you dancing. You basically click on the disco ball and you pick from a dance, and you can see your avatars doing all kinds of crazy dances. It's kind of funny. Like, it's just for the laughs alone. You should check it out. Although I do see an app that came in while I was a question, Rob, while I was talking. In the future, do you think it could be possible for users to create their own AR experience for the app or customize the current ones? Ooh, good question.
We have talked about that. So one of the bit of feedback that came in at some of the trade shows that we've been demoing this at was, wouldn't it be great if students could create their own three-dimensional objects and then maybe even send those over to a 3D printer? These types of things are certainly possible. In terms of students creating their own AR application, I think the first step, or their own AR content, I think the first step towards that is these group activities, because in the group activities, each student has the ability to kind of create their own settings and create their own, to engage with the content in their own way, and then allow the other students to kind of interact or engage with what they've done. And so I think that's the first step there. I think ultimately, yes, students will be able to create their own AR content. How deep that goes and how open the environment is really depends on what happens with technology over the next couple of years. I think as AI continues to come more and more to the forefront, AI tools can also be used to give students the ability to create content pretty quickly and seamlessly. And so that's also something that we've been exploring.
Yeah, we're excited to see how this group functionality goes, because like you said, it can go so many directions from there. So we'll be testing it out. We'll be showing it at ISTE, like we said, for anyone that's going to be there. Come by the McGraw-Hill booth. And that looks like it's it. I don't think there's any more questions, but we'll hang out for a few minutes if anybody does have any more questions. Other than that, I'd like to say thank you, Rob, so much. Yeah, I see people with the emojis, which is great. Thank you, Rob, so much for such a great presentation. And I work with Rob. He's my partner on this product, so his company really is great. They've been such a tremendous, valuable resource for us building this app. So thank you, Rob, to you and your team for all the work you guys do.
Thank you, Virginia, and thank you everybody for attending today. And I'll look forward to seeing you all on the dance floor here in half an hour.
Yay! Thanks, everyone.